We're honored to have on the show an incredible singer, songwriter, actor. He does it all, and he's got a brand new album out now. Michael DeBar. Michael, thanks for coming on the show.
I'm so delighted to be here with you and talk about myself.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what, Michael? I forgot to mention your incredible radio show that you've had for 10 years on Sirius also.
Yeah.
And so you are a man of many talents and many gifts.
Well, you know, the thing about the radio vibe is it's not me. you know, so suddenly I came out of like decades of being, you know, on telly and
right.
music. And then now I'm talking about, you know, these wonderful bands. And these
but you know, your
artists.
history, and once again, we got to talk about the new album first, because as I was telling you before we started the interview, Michael, I love this new album. It's only rock and roll, and it's 12 incredible songs. But you know what I love about it, listening to the individual tracks, and I want you to talk about the studio and all the awesome musicians you have on this, is that you really brought your own taste and flavor to these classic songs that you're covering. It's not like you're doing a cover, you're bringing Michael's flair to it.
Well, you know, after having been an actor since I was, you know, 3.5 years old, you know, you have to be, you know, create a new vibe, you know. But the thing about it was that the simplicity of that rock and roll, that guitar, bass, drums, band, that's called rock and roll. You know,
and Fox on the Run, probably one of my favorites on here, Michael.
Oh, thank you. You know, I mean, and singing every one of them, I was just enjoying myself.
You can tell it. And also, I mean, you brought in an all-star band to back you up on this.
Yeah, they're incredible. That rhythm section, the vibe was that rhythm section is very R&B, you know, very rhythm blues, and then I had like Iggy's guitar player. So, you know,
they're all your friends. That's the thing, you know, with your musical history, because certainly, you know, from everything that you did, you know, from Silverhead and Detective and Power Station and everything. But then also, you know, in your spare time, you were on 100 different TV shows and in 30 films. And you were mentioning how young you started, Michael. You were the Nux kid in England when you were only 8.
That's absolutely right. I was 8 years old. I was on film, and I've been just dreadful ever since. I've been just, you know, I carry a makeup person.
It's been amazing. I mean, look at how many MacGyver episodes. And, you know, I got to mention this too. Yeah. I think my favorite, some of my favorite shows with you, Michael, were WKRP.
Oh, that was hilarious.
And the Rockford Files.
Oh, I love James Garner. We had such a fantastic, he was so fantastic. You know, those old Hollywood heroes, you know, was so great for me, you know, to be able to be with, and it was wonderful. And, you know, the WKRP thing, I must say to you and tell you the truth, I was out of my mind, you know, that week. You know, at that time, I was like a very naughty fellow. And we had to do a TV show, and it became even funnier. You know, because I was
especially
so
with
relaxed.
You in that cast. You know, you and that cast, Michael, were just like perfect.
Oh, it was fabulous. And Howard Hesseman, what a guy, you know. And it's the #1 episode of WKRP, you know. So was very, and I had the detective thing happening at that time, you know, but I was hanging out with Jimmy and Robert Plant, you know, and they came to see that particular show.
Right. Well, and also with T-Rex, with, you know, one of my favorite guitarists, you know, Bolin. You know, it's like, you know, these, you know, were your contemporaries back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so interesting to me, Michael, also, and you got to tell this to our viewers, you know, you were a Shakespearian trained actor.
Yes.
And studied mime. Yeah. And then what made you go, no, I think it's glam rock and roll. I think Silverhead is it.
I blame Keith Richards.
If you're going to blame somebody, that's a great one.
You know, I went from Sir Laurence Olivier to Keith Richards. You know, I mean, I knew I wanted to. I always loved the blues when I was in these boarding schools, which is a whole other story. You know, 9 years of that was just, oh boy. But I learned really what Sonny Boy Williamson was all about, what Muddy was all about. All of these guys, Willie Dixon writing all of the blues writers way before I got into like the Beatles.
Right.
So I was into the blues thing, and in the libraries, I never went home in the vacations because my mother was nuts and my dad was in jail, is the true story of it. And I say that only because you can get through anything in life, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know, just stick to the truth, stay with your truth. And I did that, and I came out and I did, you know, went to drama school. Within 2 weeks, I was into So With Love, you know, so.
Wow. Yeah, and once again with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the film. I mean, you were in Pink Cadillac with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, and I loved him. And it was funny because when I was auditioned, I was playing a guy like this, like a really tough guy, and with a gun and all of that, and I was a killer. So I had to do a video, and it was sent to Clint. And when I met Clint on the set is when I met him, because he saw the video. He said, "Yeah, let's have him." And so I got on the set with him, and I got up to him, and I said, "Go ahead, make my career." I said, and he laughed for an hour and a half. He was laughing,
Oh my goodness, Michael! But that's the thing is, going through your career, through your acting, and through your incredible music career, also, and your voice, I think on this new album sounds better than ever.
Yeah,
honestly,
so.
I mean, just so pure. But it's like you've been like a common thread through rock and roll and TV and movies all these years. And now 10 years into your radio show, and a new album out this year.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm 76 years old, and I just feel I've been blessed, and every day is a day that I learn something that, that's why the radio is so important. And I know you know this because, you've met with so many different artists. But what happens was when I just listened to other artists, and I wasn't an artist, I was a DJ and still am, bringing that music to people. And that really sort of calmed me down on an ego level. It made me appreciate somebody else's work. And that's really important when you are a musician.
Well, and once again on this album as well, Michael, and I couldn't help but think when I listened to the entire album, and every song on here is really a gem. I certainly have my favorites. I'm 18. I think you did an incredible job with that one as well. But it's like, I felt like you almost need to go ahead and start working on the next one.
Well,
it's only rock and roll again. I'm like going, you did such a great job on this album. And I know it's being so well received internationally also.
Well, you're obviously extremely smart, and I would be an idiot if I didn't do the 50s, right away.
Right.
Because if I do the 50s, you are really stripping it down. It's guitar, double bass, and drums and a singer. It's a different feel. And Eddie Cochran, and all of that.
Oh.
I just love all of that because it's rock and roll. It's true rock. Elvis, of course, Elvis. Look behind me. Can you see?
Oh my God. I mean, yes, right behind you.
I love him.
And I was going to bring up too, Michael, to where, I read some of the articles and press that have been written about you. And certainly your statement to where you wanted to bring some of these songs from the 70s period, which as you and I know, was transformative for rock and roll.
Yes.
But you really wanted to introduce people to these songs again, because I think, and as you and I both know, people forget. And so, but if you have a new album out like yours, which is so powerful, it'll remind them, it's like, here are the songs that were transformative for you and I, and so many people. Take a listen.
Well, I think the most important thing about it is the songwriting. Of course, there are no rock and roll bands. There are no rock and roll bands that one is saying, well, that's really good. I mean, there's a lot of bands that have absorbed Zeppelin and have flared jeans and long hair. And, woo, they're all up there. It means nothing. You've got to go out there and be you. You can't be Robert Plant. There's a Robert Plant already. So what I did was go back, bring these songs into my audience's vibe, and the people that follow me on social media and all that. And it just exploded because people said, well, I want to play bands. I want to play music like that. I want to be in a club. And I would stress, the most important thing is you're enjoying yourself.
Right.
I mean, as
an actor, making the music, and I think
enjoy talking to people. You enjoy.
Oh, totally. To shine a light on someone like yourself that maybe our viewers haven't heard of, haven't listened to your show, didn't know you had a new album out. But looking at you over the years and knowing your music as well as I do, Michael, you were always true to yourself on it. And you had that rock look and that rock feel, but you never tried to be anybody else. And I always admired that in you with your vocals, even when you were fronting Power Station, which not an easy thing to do in the 80s, but you did it your way. And I think that's the same thing you did with this new album, It's Only Rock and Roll. You brought your own taste to it, which I think is incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just singing the song. The lyric is look, if Shakespeare in 500 years can have 2,000 Hamlets and they're all different, That's what I feel about rock and roll. You don't have to copy Iggy.
No.
You don't have to copy Mick Jagger. They're great, but they already exist.
Right.
So, be yourself, whatever that is. But the thing about that is it's very spiritualized because you've got to find out who you are. And those lyrics, they'll apply to any human being, but you've got to make it your own. That audience has to feel that you are feeling what you felt, which is the truth. The truth is everything in all the arts.
It is, and I was telling you too, Michael, when I was listening to the full album, it really transformed me back to like a teenager, to where I'd be in a Pizza Hut and they'd have the jukebox going and I would hear these songs playing on the jukebox, and it took me back to those teenage days. And I think a lot of people that are going to listen, but also some people, the younger generation don't know these songs.
No.
And you're bringing it forth to them as well.
Yes, and I'm getting tremendous mail from young bands, which makes me feel like, Elvis. I mean,
exactly.
I just feel so great because if you look at it, as I said on the Shakespearean vibe, the words can be, determined by you, how you feel about it, no matter what the words are. Stay with me. What does that mean? Stay with me. Stay with me for the night or the rest of our lives. It's up to you how you sing that.
Yeah, you've not been afraid to embrace any of that. Once, I was going to bring up when you left England to move to LA, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, you just left one of the biggest up and coming bands, but then you took it and did something bigger and better, with Detective and everything. And all the solo work and everything else you did, you continued to morph and be your creative self the whole time, Michael. And that's inspirational.
Well, bless you. I just don't want to be singing Rolling with My Baby when I'm 80.
But now you're going to have to go and look up figure out, from the 50s and 60s catalog.
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to the album, It's Only Rock and Roll, I was like going, you didn't pick the obvious culprits. You went deeper. You know what I mean? And it had to be hard for you to choose those 12 songs.
You know what? It was not hard. It was interesting because I think I went into a whole other, spiritual place. I know this sounds crazy, but I literally went, okay, I want to do that. I want to go back to the early 60s, guitar, bass, drum singer. What can I do? And I got my piece of paper. I write a lot. I'm constantly writing, but I put it down and I just went, bah, 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 bah. And I felt like I was in a movie. It's a mad movie. And I literally did it in 5-10 minutes. 12 songs.
That's amazing.
Bang, 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 bang. And the artist and the whole thing was going through me because obviously every day I'm 3 hours on the radio playing this extraordinary music that Stevie put together, Stevie Van Zandt. So it just came so fast. I've got the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I've got, you remember when Rod did all the Sinatra albums?
Oh, totally. Totally.
I'm doing that on a rock and roll level and I've got them all ready to go,
Wow.
No,
Well, and what I thought about also, Michael, is with your career, and you're not going to brag about it, but I will. You have ties to so many of these artists. So, when you come into the song, and like you said, the lyrics are great, the songs are great.
Yeah.
But you have personal ties with these artists.
Yeah.
But you are interpreting it as your song.
Yeah, Mark I knew way before he had, beautiful curly hair and makeup. I knew him when he was a model, and I was a model, we'd go in these try and get a job, And then the next time I saw him, he was cross-legged at the Roundhouse Club in London, and he was, he was a hobbit, and it was some kind of Tolkien-esque vibe, And I thought, well, what it's about is recreating yourself. I went through the very strict educative boarding schools because of my father, and I'm a Marquis and all the rest of this nonsense. And so I was privileged to go through this dreadful situation, which is so British, and, the aristocrats and the working class and all of that is just terrible vibes. But Mark was brilliant because he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be an elf. He wanted it to be magical, and he was, and simplistic. Because if you hear him play guitar, it's just absolutely perfect. You don't have to be Clapton to be a fantastic guitar player. It's feeling. He had that feeling, and I was devastated when he died.
Yes, such a loss, such a huge loss musically. Like I I was a huge fan of his playing and music as well. But also I was going to bring up, with this new album, certainly, you're using your chops every day with your radio show.
Yeah.
Hugely popular radio show on SiriusXM. Did you have to do a lot of vocal training and prep to get your vocal chops back up to do this album? Because I'm telling you what, Michael, the way you're hitting these notes, it sounds like you just came off tour.
It's so sweet of you to say that. It really means the world to me. You've spoken to everybody, but there's something happened to me. It's hard to really explain, but I sing better today than I did when I was 20, and I don't, go, good morning, darling. I don't.
But do you think that's taking better care of yourself also? Because once again, Michael, keeping up with you on social media and your radio show, you take good care of yourself. I mean, you're in great shape.
I am. Well, I'm going to live forever. Absolutely. There's no question about that. So we'll be able to do lots of albums and do lots of interviews because you'll be with me.
Excellent.
If you just work out, keep breathing, and keep your shoulders back and your head held high. I say it every day, and especially today when we've got these monsters, looking to be presidents and so on and so forth. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I just want everybody to be kind to each other, be cool to each other, be creative, and cooperate with the world that we so desperately need to clean it up. It's a mess. I'm driving last night to see Elliot Mintz read his book about Lennon and Yoko. And I was just looking. I live way outside Hollywood, and I was thinking, my goodness me, this is a mess. We've really got to get things together. So in terms of doing that record, I went back until I was 19. I closed my eyes. We're in one room, guitar, bass, drums, microphone, band, go, sing. Great, next. I mean, I did it one or two times with those guys.
And you recorded the entire album in 10 days at Paul's studio.
Well, it was Paul's studio. It was 10 days, but it was only 3 or 4 days, actually recording.
Amazing.
We did 12 songs in 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's incredible.
The thing about Eric Schermerhorn's guitar playing is it's vicious and it's tight and but it's not exhaustive.
No.
He's not trying to tell you how good he is.
No, he plays to the song. I noticed that, and all of the instruments on this album, Michael, just laid a great foundation for your voice.
Yeah, it's just clean. And they know they're professionals. They know that people want to hear the words, But
exactly.
You see, this is what's happening today. People are reproducing Led Zeppelin, or maybe they're going bluesy with the Stones. You have to come up with your own vibe. And I want people to listen to those songs and then maybe write songs that are like those songs, the same groove. I also only believe in guitar, bass, and drums,
Right.
I mean,
foundation
and a tambourine here and but I'm not into horn sections and lots of girls in the background going ooh, ooh, ooh. And, that's not my thing at all. Oh. It's guitars. When you're a kid and you plug in that guitar, you're in heaven. Totally. The Ronettes are not in the corner of your bedroom, which is the title of my autobiography, obviously.
Right. Oh my goodness. And the documentary that you had that came out a few years ago. It's been so popular, Michael.
It was really good. I am not Elvis and I am not, Mick Jagger, but that documentary sold more than all of them put together, Because
but also you're still here with us.
Yes.
And in your 70s, you're still creating and being prolific. A lot to be said for that.
There is. And I think people that want to, just enjoy the arts, that's what I represent. I don't represent living in the south of France and in Italy and in England and in Paris. I'm just a guy who worked hard and enjoyed it.
Well, I've got to ask you the obvious question, Michael. Will the album be out on vinyl also? Because it seems like it is worthy of it. And
a lot of things have changed in this last week. Because it's only been out a couple of weeks.
I know.
It's already one of the most played songs. And what they liked the most is Stay With Me, which I thought...
It's a great song, but there's not a bad song on here.
No, really. I mean, they're all great, great songs. And they want me to do all sorts of things, which would be...
great, though.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Congratulations. And I think it's earned because you serve the song. And with this album and the reason why you did, because you don't have to, you've got you've got your radio show, you've got all these other great things going. You don't have to put out an album, but you chose to.
Well, I did, and one of the interesting things about it, the artists that I'm singing, doing their songs, have contacted yours truly, and what better thing, could it be than that?
What a huge compliment.
Yeah,
well, I want to make sure for our viewers too on it, Michael, with everything that you've got going on, obviously with your radio show on Sirius, the brand new album that's out. What is the best website and social media to keep up with everything that you've got going? Because I know more music's coming. I think you ought to do a small touring thing in your spare time. But we got to keep up with you.
How do you spell that?
Not with Michael. I'm telling you that.
Yeah. No, I would love to. This is what I'd love to do, though, is not just go out there and do those songs, but I'd like to talk with the audience and answer questions to the audience, which is rather, has come from my radio thing, because I think it's important to set a sort of a context of why I'm here at all,
right.
And what is this music? Why isn't it, some current band, I don't know, Feel. There's a band called Feel, which represent the whole thing of reconstructing Zeppelin and so on and so forth. And God bless them, good luck to them. But I'd like to talk to the people about those songs, because the song becomes even greater and more important to them if they know the history of it. And
then you can bring that history, and also the musicians, like you said. I mean, when you have the original artist reaching out to you, going, "Thank you, nice job," and complimenting,
crazy.
What more can you ask for?
That's the ones that are still alive. But, but the thing is that I would like to go on the road, but I don't want to go out on the road and just do the songs. So I want to, like I do on the radio, I talk, people send me all this mail and all this thing, and I talk about it to them on the radio. So they're like, enjoy it even more. If you hear the facts and know the context, you're going to enjoy that music even more.
Well, I think that's with you. With knowing your backstory and knowing your upbringing and your acting and your training, but also how you moved into music. And then, you were able to walk between all these worlds, and you're still doing what you love now as a creative endeavor with the album, with the radio show.
Yeah. And I'll continue to do so until I, drop, which
we hope it's very far away from now.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about getting older. Is I really do stay here right in the moment. I enjoy every moment. I don't waste time.
Right.
If you think of that phrase, wasting time, it really affects me. It makes me not in some mad way, but I love every second, because if you're in the moment, then there is no past and there is no future. There's only what is now. And every philosopher said this. I'm not saying anything new. I mean, Krishnamurti says this, all the great prophets, as it were, say the same thing. Stay in the now, don't think about yesterday, with what you did and it was terrible and it's going to be awful tomorrow. And, all that nonsense it ruins the whole thought of spiritual humanity.
Right. No, that's so brilliant. Well, and I wanted to know also, what's the best website to keep up with the album, with the multi-visual audio experience you're going to create with the album? Where should our viewers go for everything that you're
Michael
doing?
Michael DeBar. You could get me. I'm everywhere on every social media thing. I'm constantly.
And on the radio.
And on the radio every day, Little Steven's Underground Garage, SiriusXM, channel 21, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the east coast of this wonderful country, I hope. And every evening from 9 p.m. to midnight on channel 21 at SiriusXM. So I'm doing 3 hours a day. It takes me 3 or 4 hours to write the show, to create the show, because it's me and here this is fabulously wonderful for me to talk to somebody that knows what he's talking about. I have to talk to a piece of paper.
Well, it's an honor to have you on. Yeah. Because just your body of work, and especially with this new album, it's only rock and roll. I want to make sure our viewers, however you consume music, whether it's through digital platforms, it's
on Spotify. It's Rockridge Music is the label. You can get.
I was going to bring that up. Thank you.
now, as you so accurately described, that maybe it'll be on vinyl too, and perhaps with 3 more songs. Thank you.
Yay!
And then I'll get into the 50s, baby.
I'll tell you what. Well, it just an incredible album, and I love your radio show, Michael.
Thank you.
And everything that you're doing, and the positivity, and the way you shine a light on artists as well with your radio show. But I'll tell you what, our viewers, you need to add this album to your playlist on Spotify. Incredible songs from the 70s. You're going to know the voice, you know the personality, you know his history, and I can't wait to hear what you do with the 50s and 60s. Michael Des Barres, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Bless you. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk with you. Thank you.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.